Good morning, travelers. Welcome back to my channel and also back to LAX. Or if you're new here, welcome. I am Kelly. I'm a flight attendant for a major US airline. Been doing it for almost 10 years now, which is crazy. So I haven't worked in a couple weeks. It's been kind of wild. It's a plane. And today I'm just working a Cabo turn. So I go to Cabo and I come back, which I wish I could stay in Cabo for a few hours, but not this time, I guess. And I owe you guys a second part of my Q&A. So when I get home this afternoon, I'm gonna answer some more of your burning questions. So let's go get on the plane for now. There's actually a lot of construction going on in our terminal because they're redoing it for the Olympics, which will be in, let's see, another 5 years. So I imagine we'll be under construction for another 5 years, but really interested to see how it will look afterwards, because I've been used to this for 9 years, so we'll see. Hopefully it's an improvement. The coffee is not kicked in yet, y'all. Need to drink some more of that. So again, I'm working in the back. That's like my favorite position right now. You know, sometimes this job for me gives me a little bit of anxiety. I'm not gonna lie, it can be hard for me sometimes. And working the positions I like helps with that, so. I made it home, yay! Fast for you, but about a 10-hour day for me. I do go back out tomorrow though, so I have just tonight at home. Tomorrow I have a 2-day. And yeah, I'm pretty tired and pretty hungry, so I might take a nap and eat a snack. But then I owe you part 2 of the Q&A, so we will be doing that right after I pet this cat before he has a heart attack. What? Hey, bud. Well, you camera shy now? Oh. All right, so I decided that it was getting too late for a nap and a snack. It will henceforth be called dinner and going to bed. So let's do this Q&A. Let me see if I can find the cues. All right, I'm doing the questions I got on YouTube when I asked a few weeks ago. This is a multi-part complicated question. As someone headed to training soon, how hard is training on a scale of 1 to 10? How do you make it through missing husband and kids at home? On the line, which is being a regular scheduled flight attendant. On the line, how do you manage weird sleeping schedules? Are passengers really as bad as the media says? Will the flight attendant lifestyle be hard on my marriage? Is the job worth the first year pay starting as a 50-year-old? Wow. All right, we have a lot to unpack here. How hard is training on a scale of 1 to 10? There's a heavy emphasis on testing, so if you don't test well, it might be hard for you. They try to keep you on your toes. Not every day has the same schedule because they're trying to get you used to a flight attendant schedule. So some days you'll have early mornings, some days, you know, it won't start until later on. So you really have to stay on top of studying and making sure you know your material. It's just like school, not too hard, and don't get too nervous about the test, because if you fail the tests, you have a certain amount of fails before you are asked to leave training. So, and it's not very many. And it depends on each airline's training, of course. All right, how do you make it through missing husband and kids at home? Well, the time I was in training, Kevin and I were just dating, and we were not living together yet. So we were already in a long distance relationship, so that wasn't hard. And I didn't have kids. So I imagine there would be visiting involved, like they could come visit you. It's not really possible for you to leave and go visit them, unfortunately, but probably lots of FaceTiming and Zoom calls, stuff like that. On the line, how do you manage weird sleeping schedules? I usually try to stay on West Coast time if possible. That's not always possible, you know, depending on the schedule and what flights I'm scheduled for. There's this thing that we say as flight attendants is sleep when you can. Actually, it's sleep when you can, eat when you can. So you just kind of have to get used to sleeping at weird times, I guess. Are passengers really as bad as the media says? Well, of course, the media are going to take the worst cases and make news out of them. But there have been some pretty bad passengers. I mean, I've never been beat up by one, but there are a lot of people who have a lot of attitudes on planes, that's for sure. But it's, you know, it's customer service. It's just like any other job in that way. Although in my opinion, you have a little bit more leeway as a flight attendant because you're not just a cashier or something. Like, people have to listen to you or else there are consequences for that, which is kind of fun. I'm just kidding. All right. Will the flight attendant lifestyle be hard on my marriage? That is totally subjective. I don't know anything about your marriage, so I cannot answer that question. Maybe yes, maybe no. It depends on how much you guys can handle being apart and how much you both can handle the different lifestyle. If there are trust issues, probably not, but that is completely subjective. Is the job worth the first year pay starting as a 50-year-old? Again, subjective. It depends on your lifestyle, what your financial situation is at home. That's really not something I can advise on. You know, if your husband makes a lot of money and can support you through that difficult time, then that's great. If not, then it'll probably be pretty difficult. You know, I was in my 20s when I did it, and I had to live with a lot of roommates for a while. Yeah, it was hard, but you can work a lot. But if you have a husband and kids, that might not be the best answer for you. So, sorry, that's, I know, not what you want to hear, but let's go to the next question. I heard it's pretty hard to be based in LAX at your airline, as in people can transfer out but not in. How did you get LAX, and how do you think your base will open up in the future for new hires? Yes, my airline has not taken new hires in LA for 7 or 8 years now. I got based in LAX right out of training, so I got really lucky. There was a really short window of time where it was open to new hires, and I got one of those spots, which, you know, praise the universe for that. And that's one of the reasons why I don't plan on leaving anytime soon. Also, LA is home. In the future, I don't know. There's all kinds of rumors about what my airline is going to be doing with LAX in the future. Some are good, some are not so good, so I really can't say. How do you stay healthy physically and mentally during and in between your busy schedule? That can be a little bit of a challenge. Exercising when you can is always really great. That helps me a lot, both mentally and physically. Making sure you're eating enough and sleeping enough and drinking enough water, really, really important. The job can be kind of weird in that you're crossing time zones, obviously, but that can make you like forget to eat. When you're in the air, there's not really a whole lot of like me time where you're like, I'm gonna sit here and eat this salad. You might be able to do that for a minute, but then someone will interrupt you wanting something and you'll have to go do something else, and you'll have to do a walkthrough, and you'll have to do all this other stuff. So you really have to make sure, like, when's the last time I ate? Make sure you're keeping up on that, and sleeping as well. Like I said, eat when you can and sleep when you can. Making sure that you're sleeping during your layovers. It might be tempting. I mean, and if you're in your 20s, this might be easier for you, but it might be tempting to go out all the time and stay out late, but it makes it really, really hard to work the next day, because flying itself is exhausting. It can be very hard on the body. And drinking enough water. Like, you need to drink more water than you would on a normal basis. So that'll make you feel really a lot better if you're doing those things. Eating, drinking water, and sleeping as much as you can. Those are really, really important. Is it pretty hard to put in for a new base as a new flight attendant? Would you explain that process, please? Can you also explain commuting as a new flight attendant for your airline? It's not hard to put in for a new base as a new flight attendant. I'm not really well versed in this because I have never transferred bases before, so I'm really not the best person to ask. And it depends on the base too. Some bases might be open for people, might be open for a vacancy transfer. Like if someone retires, there's a vacancy open, you might be able to get that. But if the base is not open, like LA for us, you can only do mutual transfers, where like if you're coming from, say, Dallas, and you have someone in LA who wants to transfer to Dallas, you can just swap. But that can be really hard, and it depends on the base. Like the transfer list for LA is hundreds of people long. But if you want to transfer somewhere like Dallas, which is huge, then you're probably able to get that a lot easier. And can you explain commuting as a new flight attendant for your airline? Again, not the best person to ask because I've never commuted and I never plan on commuting. That just sounds super stressful for me, and I would 100% not recommend that for a new flight attendant because of the reserve schedule. When I was new, we did 1 month on reserve, 1 month off reserve, 1 month on reserve, 1 month off reserve. So it was a little bit easier, but now for my airline, and I know a lot of other airlines, it's like straight reserve for a year or more even. So you can be on call for days at a time and not go anywhere or go somewhere. So you have to be in base. They can't call you and then you fly from your home to your base. So you have to be in base. So you have to pay for rent in whatever hometown you want to live in, and then pay for hotels or a crash pad or something in your base, because you're expected to be there while you're on reserve. So I 100% do not recommend commuting as a new flight attendant who's going to be doing a lot of reserve. If you don't know this, I should explain commuting as a flight attendant. The way people commute by car and they drive to their work, flight attendants and pilots are able to commute by plane. So you don't have to live in the place that you're based at. Lots of people in LA commute from, you know, Las Vegas or San Francisco or Sacramento or wherever. So they fly in for their trips, which is, you know, nice that you can live wherever you want. You're non-revving to work, so you're flying standby in to work. So if those flights are full or they get canceled or whatever, like, you don't have a lot of leeway. We do have a little bit of a commuter policy where if you try for, you know, you have to have like, I think 3 flights that you can try for before your sign in. And if that all fails, then you're covered a couple times a year. It's pretty complicated and it sounds way too stressful for me. So I do not ever plan on commuting if I can help it. So yeah, I would not recommend that. Do you know if Phoenix is more senior or more junior? For my airline, it is more senior, for sure. For sure, one of the most senior bases. Oh, what are your cats' names and what are their personalities like? The black one that you saw earlier, that was Boris. He is a Norwegian forest cat, we think. We got him at a shelter when he was 2 years old, and he checks all the boxes for Norwegian forest cat as far as we can tell. He is funny. He's about 9 years old now. They're both funny. Boris is very vocal. He meows a lot. I can't believe he didn't meow in that video. That was crazy. He's a little camera shy. He gets the zoomies, so he'll run around like crazy, and usually all day long he's like sleeping under the bed, and then he'll boom, and he likes to cuddle for a while until he's done cuddling, and then he's absolutely done cuddling. It's like a cat, you know. And then the other one, the gray one, is Midge, or Miriam. She is hilarious. She's 1 year old. We basically got her for Boris as a kitten. They love to wrestle and play together, which is so awesome. We read all these horror stories about introducing cats and how it can take months and you have to keep them separated, but we kept them separated for like 2 days, and then she got out and they came face to face and they were like best friends ever since. So it turned out well. She's also turned out to be pretty vocal. She loves her routine, so she loves to cuddle with me in the morning. And this morning, since I had to work, I wasn't able to do that, and she was pretty mad. But anyway, those are my cats. They're both funny, and I love them so much. Although they don't seem to love me because they're not around. I'd love to see a video of how much money you save by being a flight attendant, how much you and your husband have saved this year or averaged over the years. I feel like anyone I've ever met that stayed with a job did so because of the benefits. Love the channel. Oh, thank you. What they mean is the money we've saved by not having to pay for flights. Like you guys know, I don't work all that much. I'm not a high-time flyer. I think the amount of money that we would have spent on flights in these last 9 years easily would be more money than I have made in my entire career as a flight attendant, and I'm not exaggerating one bit. There have been quite a few business class, very nice international flights we've been able to do because of standby and because of these benefits that themselves easily would cost in the thousands and thousands of dollars. It's hard to tell what airfare is because it's changing all the time, but we take flights all the time. Like Kevin's family lives back near Buffalo, New York, so he's always flying back and forth. We've been to Hawaii once every year since I started this job. That was one of our things. We've been to Europe lots of times. We've been to Asia several times. We've been to Africa several times. So there's been a lot of money that we've saved. I don't even know that I could throw a specific number out there. Probably in the 6 figures, and don't think I'm exaggerating by saying that. But that depends, you know. I know a lot of people, flight attendants, who don't non-rev. If you don't know, non-rev is flight attendant term for it means non-revenue, which is what we're called when we use our flight benefits to fly standby. Yeah, a lot of flight attendants and, airline workers don't non-rev. All kinds of different reasons. They can't handle the uncertainty of not knowing if they're going to get on a flight. Their spouse can't handle the uncertainty of not being able to get on a flight. I've heard that a lot, like, oh, I don't mind, but my husband can't handle it, so we have to buy tickets, which I understand. But Kevin and I are both, well, we're definitely used to it by now, but we always have backup plans, A, B, C, D. And we're pretty flexible and easygoing. And that's why we have all the airport lounge passes, because it's a lot easier to hang out in an airport lounge and wait for a flight. It is in the actual terminal, especially when you're getting free drinks. Wink, wink. So whether this job is worth it for the benefits, it depends on if you use them. I use them all the time, which is really mainly the reason that I'm still here. Some of you guys have pointed out in the comments, it doesn't really seem like I like the job. I have a love-hate relationship with this job. Some days I really hate it. Some days it's really hard. And there are a lot of reasons for that. It's a great job in some ways, and it's not a great job in some other ways. It's not really fulfilling. It's not intellectually fulfilling. It's not creatively fulfilling. You get those odd moments where you can help a passenger out, which is really nice. Those are the nice moments, but there's no room for advancement. It's not really like you're going to work your way up the ladder. Every day is different, but every day is also kind of the same at the same time. You're going to different airports and your schedule is different, but if you're lucky, the flights will all kind of be similar. If we want boring, normal flights, we don't want to have any of those crazy stories. So if your flight is normal and boring, those can all kind of be the same no matter where you're going. And, you're working in a huge corporation. Sometimes it's really easy to just feel like a number and feel very replaceable. But at the same time, there's some great stuff about it. Like, for a while, I was flying to New Orleans a lot, a city which I love, and I was becoming a normal? No, that's not it. A regular. I was becoming a regular at one of my favorite restaurants, which is super cool. We all have our favorite places to eat in our different cities and our different airports too. So it's always great when I go, hey, I get to fly to Miami and get La Coretta, or fly to Boston and get a lobster roll. Stuff like that's really cool. Nice layovers are always fun. The hotels are most of the time nice, usually nicer ones than I book for myself. What else? Well, obviously the flight benefits. We have great health benefits too. So there's a lot of great things about the job. I am totally going off on a tangent about this, but do the flight benefits move the needle? 100% for me, they do, because I don't think I would be here if I didn't have those flight benefits. They help me fulfill myself outside the job creatively and spiritually, I guess. That sounds kind of woo-woo, but traveling for me it's my passion in life, and Kevin and I get to do it together. And free flights, you guys. It really makes it hard to quit this job. So here I am still 9 years later. I did get another question that's not in here that I remember. Do you get points for your hotel stays? Yes and no. Again, we're not supposed to, because the company books our hotels, and that's usually a third-party booking, which most hotels say no, you can't get points and stuff on that. We stay at the big chains. I usually put my loyalty number in just in case, and every once in a while I will get points and an elite night credit, which is nice. And you can always use that hotel chain's credit card at that hotel to, get a drink or a coffee or whatever, and you get points that way. And if you stay at Marriott and you have it linked to your Uber, you get extra points for Uber Eats, just in case you didn't know that. Little travel hack for you. But I have talked for a very long time, like 20 minutes. This is probably getting super boring for you. If you have any other flight attendant questions, let me know, and maybe I'll answer them in my next video. I hope that made sense to you guys. A lot of these questions probably don't seem complicated when you're putting them down on paper, but to me, they're all like, well, yes and no, and I love it and I hate it, and it sucks and it's awesome, and you can do this and you can do that at the same time. So I know it's a very complicated job, very complicated lifestyle, but you know what? It might just be in my blood. Again, you guys, I love you. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate every single one of you, and every single view means the absolute world to me. If you're not subscribed yet, I would absolutely love it if you would hit that thumbs up and subscribe, because I have all these crazy flight attendant adventures and hopefully real talk about the flight attendant job. But until next time, guys, this is Kelly from the Awkward Flight Attendant. Peace out. I am on board. We're gonna board. This is a terrible angle. Never mind, cut this. I don't have any water. Stupid. Oh. I almost lost my coffee cup. What's the question?